Hello. Today I will be talking about my community experience number 2. This community experience was a goaltending practice that I observed over the Thanksgiving break in my hometown of Toronto, Ontario. The goaltending coach that I observed was Noah Granada. Noah is a former goalie who has now turned to becoming a goaltending coach to the youth and professional levels. I asked Noah at the beginning of his practice, I asked him if there was any philosophies or sayings that he believed in as a goalie and preaches as a goalie coach. His response was, goaltending is almost entirely a mental game. It's all about confidence. Confidence is when preparation meets opportunity. I then went on to ask him about his approaches to practice and teaching goalies. He then went on to tell me that his practices do not start when the player shows up to the rink. For him, at least, the practice starts the night before. Some people may think that a coach just shows up to the rink and evaluates a goalie. However, this is only partially true. As Noah has stated, in order to get the most out of your goalies, you have to show up with a plan. This starts the night before. When you look at your schedule for the next day and you see who you're working with, you can understand that some students are stronger in certain areas and weaker in others. You have to understand who you're working with and create a practice plan that gets the most out of your goalies. So Noah likes to break his goalie practices down into 4 separate categories. Before practice, beginning, middle, and end. So before practice, Noah likes to observe and communicate with his goalies. He wants to understand where their mindset is at on a particular day, as well as finding out if there's anything specific they would like to work on. This is important because it allows him to understand what mental challenges may be getting in the way of his goalie's performances on that day, as well as being able to understand where their weaknesses are in their game. As we continue, the beginning of practice starts. At first, Noah likes to start his practices with some skating drills. This allows goalies to get warmed up as well as find their edges. Finding their edges simply means that it allows a goalie to skate and warm up and feel their blades along the ice. That way, when the shooting and the more robust movements are required, the goalies are able to feel comfortable and secure in their skating fundamentals in order to be able to move around their crease to make the positional saves. The middle of practice is where, as Noah states, the fun begins. Yes, skating is a crucial part of being a goalie. However, it's not the entire thing. Being able to track pucks with your eyes and move your body into the proper positions to be able to save the puck is another piece in a large puzzle of goaltending. When watching Noah through his practices, this is where I saw the in-game scenarios being broken down to mimic and recreate high-scoring opportunities. That way goalies can work on them. For example, an RVH, which simply stands for reverse vertical horizontal, is a very crucial and hard, now fundamental part of goaltending. The RVH was something that has been implemented into goaltending within the last 15 to 20 years. However, it has become extremely fundamental and crucial to the game of hockey within the last 5 to 10 years. The butterfly style of play is what is required in order to be positionally accurate in order to make these RVH saves. This is where the bulk of his practices lie. This is where the majority of the teaching is done, is in the middle of the practice, when he allows his goalies to set up and follow the drills of these high scoring opportunities. To continue on to the end of his practices, Noah likes to end his practices with tactile information for the goalies to take home. This week, Noah was expressing the importance of what is known as box control. This is a fundamental principle of goaltending that is used to show goalies how much they need to move in order to cover the net. It is a visual drill that allows a goalie to understand how much of the net they already cover and how much space they need to move in order to save the puck. This is done by attaching ropes to all four corners of the net and then tying them to a singular point, which mimics where the puck would be. By doing this, it creates small box angles that the goalie can therefore look at through video in order to understand how much of the net they actually cover. After his practices are done, he ends his practices with some post-practice communication. Noah is a very vocal person. He lets the goalies know what they're doing right, but at the same time, he'll definitely make sure you know when you're doing something wrong. As Noah stated, goaltending is a game of inches. If I allow them to make even the slightest mistake here without correcting them, I'm setting them up for failure when it comes to the games. At the end of every practice, I ask my goalies, what do you think that you did well, and what do you think you could have done better? After they finish telling me what their opinion is, I let them know what mine is and how we can improve from there. After watching Noah teach his young goalies, there have been a few key takeaways that I have gathered from his practices. First of all being communication. I think this is Noah's strongest quality as a goalie coach. And from what I've gathered, by communicating with your goalies, you get an understanding of where they think they are at and where they feel like they can improve. This also allows you as a coach to evaluate and compare what they say to what they think they need to work on versus what you believe they need to work on. The second key takeaway is evaluation and assessment. Paying close attention to detail and making sure every rep that the student does is perfect or close to it allows your goalies to be prepared and confident for when they get into a real game scenario. And last of all, the last takeaway that I have is, even as a coach, always be learning. As a coach, do not believe you know it all. There are always new ways of doing things that are more efficient. By constantly learning, you're giving your students the best possible knowledge and tools to compete at the highest levels. And as a coach, being knowledgeable and being able to express this knowledge through communication after properly evaluating and assessing them is a fundamental quality that not all coaches or even teachers have. After this community experience, I have gathered more information on what it takes to become a professional coach and how to get the most out of my players.